290,000 people have been evacuated as Super Typhoon Saola hits the Guangdong Coast. Floodwaters in many areas of Hebei have not receded. Thousands of villagers are unable to return home after 20 days of evacuation. Netizens mocked the release of Xi Jinping's thought textbooks, saying, "Fortunately, I graduated early." A banned documentary on unfinished buildings has gone viral. It's all covered in today's China Truths. 290,000 people have been evacuated as Super Typhoon Saola hits the Guangdong Coast. On the evening of September 1st, a super typhoon of unprecedented magnitude, Saola, is poised to make a devastating landfall along the Guangdong Coast. This looming tempest is slated to be the most potent typhoon to confront Guangdong province in the past 7 decades. The storm's center packs maximum wind forces, reaching a staggering magnitude of 17, spelling impending chaos for coastal regions. Responding swiftly, authorities in Guangdong and Fujian provinces have initiated emergency measures, evacuating a total of 290,000 residents. An emergency directive was issued by the Guangdong government on August 31st, mandating the immediate implementation of 5 suspensions in regions directly in the typhoon's path. These include school closures, work stoppages, business halts, market closures, and a general cessation of non-essential activities. Additionally, all flight operations at Shenzhen Airport have been halted, and nearly 4,000 trains under the Guangzhou Railway Group have been suspended. Meanwhile, all schools in Hong Kong have temporarily closed their doors in response to the approaching typhoon, ensuring the safety of students and staff. Furthermore, all 1,676 fishing boats operating in the city have been instructed to return to the safety of Hong Kong shores. As Typhoon Saola approaches, individuals and businesses are also taking precautionary measures. In Shanwei, the owner of a seafood shop invested 30,000 yuan to rent 10 large trucks, forming a protective barrier around the shop to shield it from the typhoon's impact. Social media users have been sharing their experiences and concerns. One netizen on Weibo reported from Shanwei, describing strong gusts of wind and shaking windows but noting that the rain was not yet very heavy. Residents in Shenzhen have been stocking up on supplies, including instant noodles, in preparation for the storm. Some have expressed their anxiety about the impending typhoon, while others have humorously commented on the empty streets and the impact on work schedules. Floodwaters in many areas of Hebei have not receded. Thousands of villagers are unable to return home after 20 days of evacuation. It has now been a month since the deliberate flooding commenced in Hebei province, affecting multiple villages and towns across Baoding, Langfang, Shijiazhuang, and Xingtai. While the waters began to recede in some regions a few days later, certain low-lying areas continue to grapple with unabated inundation. Recent online videos capture the grim reality of some villages being submerged for an entire month, leaving residents marooned within an expansive aquatic landscape and hampering their return home. One video prominently displays the sign of the Bazhou City Wujiantai Village Committee, while another asserts that Langfang, Hebei Province, residents are still navigating makeshift boats along a national highway. A disheartened female survivor of the disaster in Hebei recently posted a poignant video message, lamenting the plight of her village's more than 3,000 residents, who have been dislocated for over 20 days without any prospect of returning home. They currently feel ostracized and marginalized, a situation akin to being treated as pariahs. The official provision of minimal sustenance funds is a meager allowance that merely ensures basic survival without guaranteeing access to other essential services. According to one source, it barely provides a means to subsist, and its coverage extends primarily to relatively healthy and young individuals. Tragically, the recent deaths of 4 villagers, mostly in their 50s or 60s, without pre-existing health conditions, raises concerns that their untimely deaths may be linked to the harsh living conditions experienced by those who are homeless. Throughout the severe flooding crisis in Hebei, government officials at all levels were conspicuously absent from the front lines of response efforts. Following the receding floodwaters, these officials appeared preoccupied with ostentatious inspections and self-promotion. Meanwhile, both the military and official rescue teams embarked on a display of staged disaster relief. Official narratives have attempted to reshape the perception of the Hebei flood disaster. However, individuals affected by the disaster continue to grapple with adversity, expressing their discontent through group protests and online accusations, alleging a lack of empathy and fairness on the part of the authorities. Netizens mocked the release of Xi Jinping's thought textbooks, saying, "Fortunately, I graduated early." As reported by the Xinhua news agency of the CCP on August 28, the propaganda department of the CCP, in collaboration with the Ministry of Education, has compiled Introduction to Xi Jinping Thought as an educational resource from elementary school to university levels. This textbook has been jointly published by Higher Education Press and People's Publishing House and is set to be distributed nationwide. Officials assert that this initiative aims to facilitate the integration of Xi Jinping thought into educational materials, classrooms, and students' minds. Screenshots shared by netizens indicate that beginning in the fall of 2022, Introduction to Xi Jinping Thought will become mandatory for undergraduate students in higher education institutions. In response to the release of textbooks centered on Xi Jinping's thoughts, numerous netizens have shared their perspectives. Some individuals humorously expressed relief, quipping, "Thank goodness, I've already graduated." Others commented on the apparent resurgence of a singular ideological focus, remarking, "It's like we've returned to the days when everyone had just one book." A netizen even suggested a shorter title, saying, "Shouldn't it simply be Xi Jinping?" All Chinese graduate students should be prepared to fully embrace it. Li Yuanhua, a historian residing in Australia, conveyed to the Epoch Times on August 30 that autocratic and highly centralized political ideologies have long been a part of the academic landscape. However, many find this approach distasteful. Li Yuanhua asserts that the Chinese Communist Party's efforts at political indoctrination not only lack value but also pose potential harm to students. He highlights that embracing these ideas from a young age may result in individuals having a limited perspective, inhibiting their ability to view matters through a standard logical lens or analyze problems with a typical approach. Li Yuanhua draws parallels between Xi Jinping and Mao Zedong, asserting that Xi, much like Mao, received a rudimentary education and experienced life in rural settings during his formative years. Growing up during the Cultural Revolution, Xi's worldview was significantly shaped by the ideological milieu of that era. Li suggests that Xi has effectively inherited aspects of Mao's ideology. Notably, Xi Jinping's thought was incorporated as a compulsory subject in prominent Chinese universities in 2020, initially without a standardized textbook. However, the release of Volumes 1 and 2 of selected works of Xi in April of this year marked a significant step toward its inclusion in college curricula. Lai Rongwei, an assistant professor at Taiwan's Longhua University of Science and Technology, offered insights during an interview with Radio Free Asia. He noted that the CCP faces significant internal and external pressures, strained relationships with numerous democratic nations and major industrial players, ongoing economic and technological disputes, and domestic social unrest. Consequently, the CCP deems it necessary to expand its political theory courses. However, Lai also pointed out that the extensive time allocated to these non-academic subjects for Chinese students could potentially result in a decline in the quality of scholarly pursuits. Looking ahead, academic research on China is likely to frequently reference Xi Jinping's thoughts. Diverging from his predecessors, Xi Jinping remains a prominent figure actively leading the country, and as a result, Xi Jinping's thoughts have been incorporated into both the party constitution and the national constitution. Lai Jianping, another expert on the matter, asserts that the CCP's reliance on coercive and harsh methods can only temporarily maintain ideological stability and is unlikely to yield lasting results. He points out that the modern age is characterized by the Internet, which allows for greater exposure to diverse perspectives. Paradoxically, intensifying efforts to brainwash the population are likely to generate resentment among the people. Lai predicts that in the foreseeable future, it may lead to widespread resistance against such tactics. A banned documentary on unfinished buildings has gone viral. The recent bankruptcy filing of the Evergrande Group and the financial turmoil experienced by Country Garden have thrust the issue of unfinished buildings in China back into the spotlight, capturing the attention of various sectors of society. A documentary titled My Family Lives in an Unfinished Building, which had been banned by the Chinese Communist Party, recently gained widespread recognition following its release on YouTube. In just one day, it garnered nearly 1 million views and over 5,000 comments from online users. The documentary offers a poignant glimpse into the experiences of individuals grappling with the repercussions of incomplete housing projects. The documentary, filmed last year, sheds light on the plight of numerous property owners in Zhengzhou and Xi'an, encompassing a diverse range of individuals and families. These include newlyweds embarking on their journey together, elderly residents living in solitude, and small families with young children. All are confronted with the grim reality of developers unable to fulfill their commitments, leaving homeowners burdened with the dual challenge of repaying bank loans while their dream homes remain incomplete. Within the documentary, each interviewee shares a deeply personal and heartbreaking narrative. One poignant account featured in the film revolves around the Yaiheng community in Baqiao District, Xi'an. This residential development was initially marketed for sale in 2011, accompanied by a promise from the developer to deliver the completed homes by 2015. However, in 2014, the project was left unfinished due to the developer's insolvency. In March 2022, nearly 300 property owners, grappling with financial pressures stemming from reduced incomes, mortgage obligations, and rents, made the difficult decision to voluntarily occupy their long-neglected residences, which had languished in a state of disrepair for 8 years. One of the individuals affected by this situation is a female entrepreneur who purchased her property in May 2013. Her family has endured the challenges of residing in an incomplete building in Baqiao District, Xi'an City. Reflecting on the past, she recounted how, at the time of their purchase, her children were still quite young. They chose their new home with the expectation that it would be ready for occupancy once their children started school. However, as the years passed, sporadic delays eroded their hopes, leaving them in a state of limbo. It wasn't until 2016 that it became clear that the project would remain unfinished. Additionally, during interviews conducted in an unfinished building, a father with a 6-year-old daughter shared their unique perspective. The young child, still naive, found joy in the presence of sand scattered throughout their home, oblivious to the underlying challenges. The father's voice trembled as he concluded, "I consider myself a resilient person, rarely shedding tears. But when it comes to my child, I admit it's my vulnerability. Regardless of life's hardships, I can persevere. All I want is to provide our children with a conducive living environment." What's wrong with that? After its prohibition in mainland China and its appearance on YouTube, the documentary achieved astonishing success, with some netizens candidly remarked, "We buy the most expensive homes, listen to the most falsehoods, attend the most exhausting classes, read the most draining books, purchase the most expensive burial plots, shoulder the highest loan burdens, face the costliest medical treatments, earn the least income, consume the most unsafe food, yet still cultivate the deepest sense of gratitude and express the most abundant blessings." Such is life in mainland China under the CCP's governance. Upon viewing the documentary, an online user expressed deep sadness, highlighting the government's actions as a tragedy for humanity and expressing sincere hope for the Chinese populace to awaken to their circumstances. Another online commenter echoed this sentiment, stating, "I genuinely hope that the Chinese people will rise, striving for a better quality of life." This sentiment garnered approval from more than 1,000 other netizens. According to a New York Times report in January of this year, in the aftermath of measures implemented by the Chinese Communist Party government in 2021 to tighten financial oversight of the real estate sector, a paradox has emerged. While these actions were intended to curb property market bubbles, they have inadvertently created significant cash flow challenges for property developers. Consequently, a surge in the number of incomplete construction projects has been observed. According to a survey conducted by the China Real Estate Information Group, CRIC, across 290 incomplete projects, by the end of December 2022, only 21% of them had resumed construction in earnest. For instance, the city of Zhengzhou in China is grappling with a staggering 106 problematic real estate projects, impacting over 600,000 buyers and residents. This alarming statistic becomes even more pronounced when considering Zhengzhou's main urban population of approximately 7.59 million people, revealing that 8 out of every 100 individuals have invested in unfinished properties. CRIC's data further reveals a significant downturn in new home sales, a primary source of revenue for real estate firms. In December 2022, sales by China's top 100 developers plummeted by a staggering 30.8% year-on-year, with a year-long drop of 41.6%. The Bank of China International estimates the total cost of completing all unfinished projects to be in the range of 1.6 trillion to 1.8 trillion yuan, about $220 billion to $248 billion. Notably, American media analysts assert that the challenges facing China's real estate sector are now extending to the financial sector, particularly banks. The BBC has also conducted an investigative report on the supply disruption plaguing China's real estate market, which includes the economic hardships faced by homeowners of unfinished buildings who are reluctant to meet their mortgage obligations. This reluctance, in turn, discourages potential buyers from investing in presale properties, prompting a shift towards the secondary housing market and potentially exacerbating China's economic woes. Don't forget to comment in the section below to share your opinions on today's topic with us. Make sure to like and subscribe to see more interesting topics from China Truths.